I'm going to start with factoring. So I look at, first of all, maybe I need to rewrite it, but most likely I need to take out that negative for sure, right? Because I see that it's a multivariable situation. So rewriting it really, you could do that, but I would just take out the negative from the leading coefficient here. So you just say that this is the same thing as negative 8k squared plus 14km minus 15m squared. Okay, so you just change the sign of every single term. And then you look, could this possibly be a, it's definitely not a difference of squares, but could it be a PST? This is even, but you have the last term negative, so it's not a PST, right? The first and last have to be positive. So you kind of rule it out right there. It's not a PST. So you're going to need to use the matrix, right? So I'm going to use the matrix up here. So I'm going to try 2 and 4. And then it's negative, right? So I know that one of them is going to have to be negative. One of these has to be negative, so make sure you do that. So this gives you negative 10, and this gives you 12. There's no way you're going to get a positive 14 out of that, right? So I'm going to flip that. 5 and 3. I'm going to make this negative here. This gives you 20. This gives you negative 6. That works out, okay? You're specifically looking for, don't look at this one. You're now looking at this one where you took out the negative, right? It should almost be second nature by now that if the leading coefficient is negative, you take out that negative like so. And don't forget about it and when you factor, right? So this would be negative, and then we use this matrix, 2k plus 5m, and then it's 4k minus 3m because it's multivariable, right? So I base it exclusively on this matrix, the box, right? Don't have these numbers appear there. And you also make sure the signs follow, right? And there you have it. You could do a quick check, right? If you go 5m and negative 3m, you're going to get a negative 15m squared. That's good. So, and then you do the double smiley face, right? 20m squared negative 6, sorry, 20km minus 6km. That would work out to the plus 14 that you're looking at there, right? This is plus 20km minus 6km. I'm now bumping into my next question, so I'm going to go sideways here. So that's good. So the danger is, like, some of you try the negative in here or in there to make this work. Don't do that. It's never going to work. It's just not going to work. You have to take out the negative completely and have it outside. You would notice that it wouldn't work when you do the last terms here. It would not result in what you need here or here. Okay, so this is the factored, completely factored. We're good there. Next, what happens here, right? So first off, the negative should worry you. X cubed, right? That we've never factored x cubed, but you notice that there's an x everywhere. You can take out the lowest power of it, right, which is x to the 1. And you're going to take out the negative. So I take out the negative. You look at not just the negative, but also is there a GCF? Is there a common number that I could take out? The 3 goes in here and here, but it doesn't go in there. 4 would go in here and here, but the 4 doesn't go in here. Right? So you can't take out anything like that. So you're stuck with just taking out the negative and taking out an x. So that gives you positive 4x squared minus, right, because it's 36 divided by negative, that'd be minus 36x, and then you divide a negative by negative, which would be positive 81. Right, so this is new, we haven't done one of these in a while, right, but you can factor a cube, right? I mean, you can, but not in this course. Okay, so there it is. So now you carry this with you, but you're going to focus on the inside. Could this be a PST? You bet, right? Because it's square root of 4x squared is 2x. Square root of 81 is 9, right? So you can, they're both positive. You can definitely take the square root of both. And the middle is even, but you will check, right? Middle will be 2 times 2x times 9. That's 4 times 9, that's 36x. So that works out as well. So it's a PST. This inside is a PST. So you go negative x, and then you go 2x minus, right? You're going to have to do a minus here, 9. And don't forget to square it. Of course, if you use the matrix, you're going to come up with the same answer, right? If you use the matrix, you'd still get this. So this negative is there because of that, right? Because we're factoring this now, right? So that negative, that's why this has to be negative there. If this had been positive, then this would have been positive in here, okay? Sorry, it's a little crowded there, I know. Next, that definitely looks like a difference of squares, but we can't really do anything yet. You have to deal with a negative or rewrite it. I always take out the negative, and I notice that 3 goes in here because this adds up to 12, and this adds up to 9, so 3 goes into both, right? So I'm going to take out a 3. So this gives me positive 25t squared, and this would give me negative 9. Okay. Is that a difference of squares? 25t squared, the square root of that gives you 5t, and the square root of 9 gives you 3. So it's a difference of squares. Okay. So I'm going to say that it's negative 3, and then it's 5t plus 3, 5t minus 3. And it's a single variable situation, so you don't have to worry about the multivariable, right? So make sure you have that, and then you have your difference of squares. You have to have a positive and a negative. So there's that. That should be a good review as to what I expect you to do at this point. And of course, I've loaded them, right? I always call it like I load my bases, right? I add like a lot of things that you need to think of because I can't give you too many examples. We just wouldn't have time to go through everything. All right. And then we're going to do the writing the simplified expression to determine the shaded region. So the basic idea is that the area of the shaded would be area of large minus the area of the small rectangle inside. That is the idea that I'm going to go with. So the area that we're after, right, would be area of large would be 7x minus 1, right, times, so it's length times width, really, like that. This is the area of the large shape minus, that comes from this, right? This negative is going to follow us into here, right? You go length times width of the inside. And the reason I like this one is it combines what we're doing and it combines expanding and then simplifying, right? So it really reviews everything. Okay, so let's work through this because these ones are a bit of a hit and miss for some of you, so I would like to review that. So obviously this is all area, right? So we're just going to go equal sign for now, and then later on we're going to add the a again. So we expand this, so that would be 7x squared plus 7x, and then we go negative x, negative 1. For now, we'll keep this in brackets to just show that this is the result of the expansion there. I keep this negative. Don't just apply it like right throughout here. Multiply this out. You apply the negative at the very end. So this is 2x squared minus 4x, and you go inside, plus 3x minus 6. Okay, and now we're going to clean it up first. I'm going to go 7x squared. This gives me 6x positive, right? 7x minus x. And I go with the negative 1. I can now drop the brackets. It's up to you, really. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to keep it on this yet because this negative is going to at some point find its way through there. I'm going to clean it up first. 2x squared. This gives you negative x here. Minus 6. You could have already applied the negative right away. That's up to you. I just like to clean it up first. And it's 7x squared plus 6x minus 1. And here we go. Negative 2x squared plus x plus 6. Right, so this negative is distributing all throughout. Please do not, some folks were multiplying this times this times this times this, like you're multiplying, no, this is multiplication here, and you subtract those two at some point further down. And now we're at the end, we'll just have a simplified form here. So we've got 7x squared, negative 2x squared, so that gives you 5x squared positive. We have our 6x here, and our positive x there, so we have 7x. And then we have negative 1 and 6, that gives you positive 5. This is how you would get the area. That's the simplified expression. So if you knew x, right, you could plug it in here and then figure out the actual area of the shaded region. Okay. Mind you, the same concept. I do minus because it adds a little difficulty, a level of difficulty, but I'm going to use my scrap paper here, right? I could have done something like this, right? Where you need to find the total area. So if I told you that this is 2x plus 3 and this is 7x minus 1, and we know that this is x plus 1 and this is 2x minus 1, this little, what would be the total area here? Well, then you got to split it. This is area 1, so to speak, and this is area 2. So to find the total area, you would have to go area 1 plus area 2. Right? You'd have to add the length times width here, length times width here. So it would be very similar to this, except where you would have to add. So be ready or be aware of that, because that's really what we're doing here. Okay. I can't do it all. I wish I could, but we wouldn't have time. All right, so if you're struggling with this, try it again. Just cover this up, and on loose leaf, you write this down. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this again until you come up with that, right? Some students ask for more examples. You can just go back in your notes and cover up the work and see if you can arrive to the same conclusion. Okay, question 3. I'm going to write this out still. I'm not quite done. simplify no negative exponents. So I'll give you a little bit of time to do that one, or at least are waiting for me. So let's go ahead, and I always try to leave a lot of room for you folks so that you don't have to skip steps. Okay, skipping steps is a very dangerous way of doing these because it's just so easy to make a few too many steps, or you're missing something, right, in one shot. So you don't want to do that. So equal sign, right? I told you back then to like worry about the top first if there's anything going on. Worry about the denominator next if there's anything going on there. Then you look at denominator, numerator, see if you can cancel out. Once everything is cleaned up inside, like no negative exponents, nothing, then you apply the outside exponent and you worry about that negative there. But I do that at the end because that's the safest way to do this, okay? So at the top here in the numerator, we have that little squared applied to only this bracket. So you need to deal with that first. You can't just multiply out just yet. So I'm going to do that here. 3 squared is 9. X, right, has a 1 times 2, so that's just x squared. Negative 1 times 2, that's negative 2. And then you're left with 2x squared y cubed here. And you're left with 2x negative 3y 4. All of that, don't forget about it, the negative 3 over 2 on the outside. Next, you can multiply out here. So 9 times 2 is 18. x2 times x2, that's x to the 4. Y negative 2 and y to the 3, you're adding, so you're just left with y really to the 1. And the denominator, you have 2x negative 3, y 4, all of that to the negative 3, 2. No brackets anymore, top and bottom. Now you can look up, down. So the 2 goes in here 9 times. The 2 goes in there 1 time. So you got taken care of. There's no negative anything, so you would have to make sure you don't forget that. But in this case, it's just 9. And now I'm combining these, and I always go top minus what's in the denominator, which is negative 3. So that's a double negative, which will turn positive, right? Don't forget that. And then I go y to the 1 minus what's in the denominator, a positive 4. So you can just go like that. And there's nothing left here. There's just a 1. We'll leave that for now. That's negative 3 over 2 like this. If you want to put the 1 down here, go for it. Nothing wrong with it. So that gives you 9x to the 7, y to the negative 3, right? Because it's 1 minus 4. And that's negative 3 over 2. I'm still working with the inside because I have a negative here. I'm going to bring it downstairs. And I'm not forgetting about the negative 3 over 2. Okay? And now that everything is cleaned up, no negative, I'm going to start dealing with the outside. So first I'm going to get rid of that negative. So I flip it, right? And it's just dealing with that. You flip it, and there we go. Okay? And now you apply the actual power to this. So this would just be 3 times 3, that's 9 over 2. So y 9 over, don't do root or anything like that with variables, okay? Don't have a square root to the power of 9. Just multiply them. 3 times 3 is 9 over 2. This, yes, you can do that, right? You go, I will do an extra step here. So that would be square root of 9, all of that cubed, right? This 3 over 2 applies to the 9. which should be written like that. Or if you want to do it in your head, that's fine at that point. And then it's x 7 times 3, which is 21 over 2, like that. And one last step here, just to clean it up, y 9 over 2, and this is 3 to the power of 3 is 27, x 21 over 2. Don't go decimals or anything like that, just leave it like that, and that'll be it. Unfortunately, I forgot to put a negative in here. I think that would have made it done a better review. Like just plug in a negative anywhere in here to see how you deal with it. But that it is what it is, right? So this is what your final answer should look like. Okay, so lots of steps, I know, and it's somewhat frustrating. Some of you just want to get it done quick, right? But it's also easier to give marks because I see from step to step that you just made us a minor mistake. Okay, but you forgetting, for example, to drop this negative after flipping, like I look at that, that's a very important concept, right, that you need to understand. All right, let's do some converting. This is 4. Convert the following. I'm going to pause the video. All right. I'm going to just interrupt this, some stuff to go through, so I'm going to do this now and show you how I would like you to do a question like this, because on the quiz, I'm going to make a video for that quiz correction, so look out for that. I want you to use all decimals here. Use all decimals because you have a calculator to do that, right? So we take the 9931 inch, right, inches. First, you want to go to yards, right? We know that 1 yard has 36 inches. So it's essentially canceling out the inches. That's what you want. So you got 9931 divided by 36, and that's 271.8611. It keeps on going, right? So you write that number down, just the first couple, right? And that is approximately, right, 275 yards you get out of that. So you write the whole number down here, right? And then you take the rest. So you go minus 275 on your calculator to just get the decimal, right? And then you get 0.86, and that keeps going yards, because remember you're in yards, times you want to go to feet, right? So 1 yard has 3 feet. Cancel the yards. So you take this on your calculator, you go times 3, and you get 2.58, and that keeps going. You get 2 feet out of that, right? The whole number goes here. And on your calculator, you go minus 2 to just be left with the decimals. And so you go 0.58, that keeps going. We are now in feet. You know that, oh, this is going to get crowded here, sorry. 12 inches, 1 foot. You cancel the feet, so you just multiply this by 12 really on your screen, and you get 7 inches. If this is a decimal, round it to nearest whole number. So then I would like you to say, right, it's 275 yards, 2 feet, 7 inches, right? I want you to use all decimals when it comes to this type of question, okay? All right, then we have miles to meters. We have that the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over to the metric system. And I know that 1 mile has 1.609 kilometers. Is that right? I might be a little bit off. 9.3, sorry. 9.3. So that gets rid of the miles. And then I'm just going to shift this. You can shift your decimal, or you can know that 1 kilometer has 1,000 meters. If you just remember that, that will also help you. So you can actually just do this all in one shot. So it's this times this times this, and you're only left with meters. That's what you want, right? So 375 times 1.6093 times 1,000. That's 603, 487.5 meters. And that's the King Henry, right? The King Henry step. You could have just done this part and then just shifted the decimal back 3 spots. You would still get the same answer there. Okay. Next we have kilometers to feet. And I know that, right, 1 mile has 1.6093 kilometers. Cancel the kilometers. You know that 1 mile has 5,280 feet. You cancel the miles like this, so this is consistent, right? And so it is 1245 divided by 1.6093. I go equal, okay, after doing that. And then I multiply that by 5,280. So that's 4084,757.35. Your final answer would be that. So 4,084,757.35 feet. Don't go commas or anything here, okay? Just the decimal. That's all we need. Is that right? I'm just going to double check. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so that's that. Just a little bit of conversion before we go. And then I want to do this one here. 5. No, this 6. 5. A cylinder has a volume of 432.98 cubic yards and a height of 9.8 yards. Calculate the surface area of the cylinder. This is backwards, by the way. I will put a you're going to need to work backwards here. And what I mean is you use algebra to figure out missing components. And if you're given the surface area or if you're given the volume, you can rest assured that, you'll have to work backwards. So this one I'll just dive right in, okay, because I'm looking at my time here. Volume of a cylinder is pi r squared height. I'm given the volume, so I'll substitute that in. Pi r squared, and the height is 9.8. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by pi and 9.8. So these are multiplying here, but that allows me to cancel out here, cancel out there. I'll do the same thing here, pi times 9.8. And I'm not going to figure out the number yet because some of you want to do that. There's an r squared here, so r squared, we're going to take the square root of it, and we're going to take the square root of what we got on this side. I know it looks messy, but it's actually easier to type into your calculator if you keep that the way it is. So this allows you to cancel out the square cancels out with the root, and I will show you how I type this into my calculator. 432.98 divided by, watch what I do here. These are multiplying. So you have to use brackets, right? So that's pi times 9.8. If you don't have brackets, you need to figure out how to do this. So I figure out what the inside is, which is this, and then I take the square root of my answer. So that's 3.75, and we are in yards. But we're not done yet. Right? We take that with us and we find that surface area is 2 pi r squared, two circles, plus 2 pi rh. So we have 2 pi, oh, I told you always to use 4 decimals, right? When it's that's 3.7501. Because this is not the answer yet. This is part of our work here. So it's 3.7501 squared plus 2 pi 3.7501 times the height, which is 9.8. And I will just figure this out in one shot. $319.28 squared yards, guys. It's area now. That's my final answer. So we went from volume to finding the radius, and that radius was used in 2 spots for surface area, right? And we came up with that. If I don't get to that final question I have here, I will make I'll add it to this video, or I'll make a separate video perhaps. There's a composite shape that I would like to do yet, if I make it. So let's try that. 6, and then I probably will make the video about the dump truck that you can just go back in your notes and fill that in. Calculate the surface area and volume. And here you have to, your artistic side has to come in here. It's going to be a rectangular prism. So I start with the face here, and then I go out in an angle, and I just copy basically. Okay. And there's going to be a cone sitting on top of this. Sorry. diameter of that cone, the diameter is 3, and the height down the middle 6. It's all in inches. Okay, so the height is 6, the diameter is 3. The box has a height of 5 inches. It's 4 inches with this front here and 7 inches going back. I'm going to do the hardest part first, which is the surface area. This is my approach here. I'm going to do the box plus the LSA, lateral surface area of cone, because this will make sure that you're not including the circle, okay, if you just do the lateral surface area. But if you find the surface area of the box, then you will be including this circle that's actually covered, right? It's not exposed. So you have to go minus circle of cone. So you have to actually subtract the cone. So you're not including it here, that's good, but you also have to subtract the circle of the cone to make sure you're not including it when you're finding the surface area of the box. Okay? So surface area would be 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height plus pi rs, that's this, minus pi r squared. This here is the box, this is the LSA, and this is circle. And you can just go length, width, and height, right? Just to make sure you're consistent. Length, width, and height. My radius is 1.5, right? It's half of the diameter. My slant, I don't have. The slant I don't have, so I will do that on the side here. We know this is 1.5. We know this is 6, and you like to call this C. I've noticed that, and that's fine. That's your hypotenuse, right? So hypotenuse squared is 6 squared plus 1.5 squared. And that would be the square root of, and we'll keep it in the root. That's another thing I noticed on the quiz, that a lot of you found what it is. Just leave it in the root, that's fine. Okay, this is my slant. Now I have everything I need to do this. Surface area is 2 times 4 times 7 plus 2 times 4 times 5 plus 2 times 7 times 5 plus pi times radius. Oh boy, this is going to be crowded here. Minus pi, and notice this, radius squared. So if you, that radius is the same as this one here, right? So it's just 1.5 squared. I'll find this here quickly. This whole thing here gives me 166 plus. Sometimes it's better to do it in steps, right? Minus. I know it's not a whole lot, but it is. It needs to be there. That gives you 188.08 rounded squared inches. Volume is very straightforward. It's most likely going to be the surface area that's going to give you a headache. Okay. Volume is just, sorry, not cylinder. Did I say cylinder? Sorry, that's cone. So that would be pi r squared h divided by 3 plus length times width times height. I'm going to continue over here. Pi 1.5 squared, and the height is 6. We're given that divided by 3 plus 4 times 7 times 5. This is 14.1372 rounded. This is 140. Volume is 154.14. We are in volume here, so that'd be cubic inches, or inches cubed. Chapter 1 review if you want more. Page 64, 9 to 10, 14 to 15, 19, 20, 22, 23, 25, and 27. I'm going to zoom into it. It's going to be on the video if you need to leave.